This is how it sounds when orchestral strings and synthesizers collide. Let me show you how I composed this hybrid orchestral plus synth track. I started the track by sketching out a chord progression on piano, G minor, and just the root note in octaves and then this arpeggio style, going back and forth on the minor here, moving just down with the bass to E flat, keeping these two notes, making an E flat major, adding the D, so E flat major 7, then G minor again, E flat, same here, E flat major 7, and then next part, B flat, F, C minor, B flat, F, and that goes round again for the second part. Once I done that, I wanted to have a very soft cinematic piano to start the track. So very dark and very, very soft and quiet. Right? Then I added some orchestral strings, just a string ensemble. And basically, I used automation to bring it up from 0. So it starts to build, you hear it about here. And then it continues to build until the second part when it's at the highest point. Then I actually wanted to bring up some cool synth bass to add the foundation for this track in the low end. So I used this Synth GPT plugin where you can just write a prompt and it generates a unique sound for you. So I went with deep, warm cinematic bass and listen to the grit. Still with that deep low end, but it has that gritty character. And then I actually made a kind of an accident, a happy accident, because I wanted to have this pad sound, but it ended up when I played it low with a deep, warm bass sound like this. Dreamy 80s pad sound. So both those together take care of the low end. This gritty upfront vibe and that warm low end. And then I actually used a kind of, I wanted that retro nostalgic feel, so I searched for dusty old warm organ here in SynthGPT, and that created a really cool bit of a reedy sound. I think I actually EQ'd it a bit as well, so let's see. Yeah, and also added a doubler to it. And oh, by the way, this is really important. This is how it sounds, like at the max volume and normal setting, because I used something called binaural panner in my DAW, where I can actually put it in the back to make it more of like a 3D space here for the entire mix. Let's move it down. And now you start to hear it. Let's remove those for now. Right? Really cool, warm, cinematic vibe. Then I wanted to add some subtle drive because I didn't want any percussion in this track. I wanted that beautiful hybrid cinematic vibe between the orchestra and synthesizers, but some drive or rhythm. So I used spiccato strings here, which is the shortest string articulation, to make this kind of beat or groove. Very sparse. But here, dun, 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 that little stuttery syncopated groove. And now you have... I really love how these deep, warm synthesizers add to the cinematic feel. Now, the strings are starting to come in here more and more. And then for the second part of the first A section, I wanted to add some choir because, well, let's be honest, human voices always add that extra dimension of emotion. And I'm using vocals because they are the softest voice articulation, I believe. So starts to build here. Really warm, cinematic, beautiful tone. And after that, for this chorus, or whatever you want to call it, the B section, I wanted to bring it all in at once. So I added more staccato strings with a spiccato. Right? Just that extra vibe. And then this is a really cool technique I want to show you. I used a harp, an orchestral harp, here. Pan it all the way to one side. And then I used Synth GPT, prompted it with a sweet harp, creating this kind of synthesized harp plucky sound, and I pan it all the way to the other side. Right? Let's listen with the reverb on. And now both together, far right and far left, create such a big dimension to the mix, because I wanted that wide panning stereo stage for the driving or rhythmic parts. Then for the backing instruments, where the strings are, for example, here, I have, of course, the choir, you already heard that, but also this brass, just long notes, sustains, with some dynamic waves. And then I wanted kind of like this old school Vangelis Blade Runner type vibe. So I layered the orchestral brass with this cinematic brass pad in Synth GPT. So it sounds like this together. Oh, by the way, I also used a binaural panner to push that to the background to get even more stereo space. Also a unison doubler effect. And listen to how cool this sounds now. Right? Bringing in the choir and strings. And piano. That Synth GPT cinematic brass pad sound really helps create that more like Blade Runner, old school Blade Runner vibe. And then for the higher instruments, here I wanted the leading melody. So I used mainly a combination of violins and violas. And the violas 1 octave lower, like this. Then added a really cool sound, cinematic soft flute. Listen to this in Synth GPT. It has this little raspy kind of character. Listen. There. Like an articulation technique. That was just by accident. When you can prompt it again if you want to, but I really love that sound. Pan it slightly to the left, and then I search for old clarinet and pan that to the right, and listen to this. Very soft. By the way, I think I used, let's see, on some of these sounds, I changed the envelope in SynthGPT because you can, and the filter, high pass in this case, to just shape it a bit further. And those together now create this warm kind of, of course you get that fluty vibe, but also that reedy vibe together. And those now, in combination with the violins and violas, such a cool hybrid blend between the two. So then I just wanted to add even more layers to it. So I used an oboe plus a female voice doing like ah. Just because human voices again add that extra dimension of emotions. And now all those leading melody instruments layered up sound like this. Right? And listen to that in combination now with the backing instruments, let's say, like so. Because this is the main, the harmonies and the melody. I can probably bring up the Vangelis synth a bit more. Yeah. Right. So, that's pretty much it. I want to finish by listening to the entire piece and pay attention to how the orchestra and the synthesizers blend together to create this beautiful mix, like so. Such a beautiful vibe mixing the orchestra with the synthesizers. And by the way, if all of the synthesizers are used in this track were generated unique sounds in Synth GPT by Fader. So you can go to fader.com and try it out today. Thank you for watching and give it a like if you enjoyed this video.